the On the Mic podcast, and as we get ready to celebrate UFC 300, haven't talked to him in a while, but obviously know he's doing good. One of the most notorious names, faces, and voices of the UFC, the one and only Bruce Buffer. Believe I can call you a friend. How are you, sir?
You can, Mike. No problem. A lot of history there. All good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So obviously, every event, especially on the pay-per-view side, is something to remember. But as we approach UFC 300, have you taken it all in? Because I know there's going to be another 100 events and numbered events and all of that. But what does approaching UFC 300 mean to you and your storied career with the UFC?
Well, every time we reach a millennium mark like 100, 200, 300, it just goes to show how the UFC has progressed from spectacle to mainstream sport where it's gotten to. It's just amazing how it's done. And with that being said, 300 is an earmark to the fact that we just reached another pinnacle in the history of the sport. And the event with 3 championship bouts, the BMF bout, you got the strawweight championship, BMF championship, light heavyweight championship, along with a bunch of other great fights on the card. It's stacked, and Dana White and the powers that be have delivered an amazing card. So it's going to sell out the T-Mobile. It's not sold out already. And, up until UFC Fight Night, the end of June, I mean, this is the biggest event of the year. And it's hard to say that because there's been so many big events already. Every time I see it, it's like, oh my God, how are we going to top this? But we'll top it next week.
You definitely will. And with that, you talked about 100, 200, and I understand when you reach those milestones, you want to put on the biggest, baddest card. Dana White and everyone has done that throughout the history of this promotion. But with 300, it's different because it's not highlighted by one or two superstars. There are so many former champions, current champions. What does that say about how much not only the sport of MMA has grown, but how the UFC has grown?
Uh, it just spells it out. It's, without even putting into words, very obvious. It's just grown to the huge level that it has, the respectable level that it has, the huge demographic audience we have from the 18 to 34 males and females all the way to the older generation, my generation, the whole bit. And I think recently was declared the fastest watching sport, number four sport, most watched in America, and it's above hockey, which is amazing.
Well, yesterday in the Rangers Devils game, I think they were trying their own MMA with a 10-person fight. But you said and quoted in a video I've seen previously of Dana White's quote, if there's a basketball game, a football game, and a soccer game, and a fight breaks out, everyone's going to go to that fight. How has Dana White and everyone else involved, yourself included, helped take in this sport to where it's the 4th fastest growing sport? And how has, in your eyes, mixed martial arts grown in the eyes of the public?
Well, first off, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Dana White. Number one, he's a maverick. Granted, he's had amazing people on his team helping him, getting to the point where we're at. But without the figurehead, the Dana right there with his passion, with the Fertitta brothers when they were involved with their passion, their finances needed, and everything else, we never would have gotten to where we're at today. And we will continue to go up this rocket ship, into the air, which I have a first-class seat on, which I love, for many years to come. And I hope Dana stays with it for many, many years to come. But it's just growing exponentially all over the country. I mean, with the feeder shows from the Contender Series and everything else that are going on to everything else the UFC is doing to supply gyms and fighter benefits all around the world, and with over 500 employees, give or take, in the organization. I mean, it's just grown into a powerhouse. People have no idea how big this is, and you hear people talk about money being made here, money being made there. The bottom line is the fighters make a tremendous amount of money in the UFC. If you look at what fighters make in beginning bouts in boxing or other MMA events where they're undercards, UFC guarantees, if I'm not mistaken, 12 to show, 12 to win just for your first time fight in the UFC. This is big money. People don't make the kind of money. And then, of course, the amount of millionaires that it's created, it's staggering, So I'm very happy the way the UFC is treating everybody.
Speaking of many years to come, we're going to have you for many years to come, correct?
I would love to see UFC 400, so we'll see what happens.
Perfect. I think we would all make sure, you're there for that. But I do have to ask, on your side of things, obviously you bring the energy from fight one to the main event, every single event you're in. But when you have champion after champion, former champion, and belts How are you personally preparing for UFC 300 with so many stacked names?
You know, I prepare for the my event just like a fighter prepares for his event. Is I'm leaving to train for a couple hours here in just a half hour, so I'm going to be mentally and physically fit, ready to go, doing what I love to do. I never know what I'm going to do till I do it. I know people are saying do the 360, you did at 100. Well, that was one and done, and I don't need to jump in the air and spin around and do somersaults to perform and put on an exciting show, but I will put on a very, very exciting show. My tailors are working on surprise is right is for the show. So I'm gonna do my part. The show is not about me. It's about the fighters. I just do my part to enhance the event. That's all I do.
And you do a fantastic job in doing so. Is there any one, and not to play favorites, but is there any one fighter or any one fight on this historic card that you're looking forward to the most?
Uh, you know, Gaethje and Holloway is going to be a fight I think we're all looking forward to. But they're all really good fights, but that's the fight that stands out as far as the power banging, uh, fist to the wall event. Pereira and Jamal Hill, obviously, and Zhang Weili. I always love watching her fight. That's going to be a battle between the two of them going at it. But you got other fights on this thing too. Calvin Kattar and Aljamain Sterling coming in, and Alexander Rakic and Jerry Prochaska. I mean, it's Holly Holm and Kayla Harrison. It's going to be the debut of Kayla Harrison. So I mean, this is a big event to look forward to.
Yeah, I think having Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway is a perfect representation of what fight fans are looking for in this marquee event. I've got to ask because I know we're crunched on time, but I do got to ask: did you watch Conor McGregor's Hollywood debut in Roadhouse, and what did you make of it?
I did. The film is a remake of the classic cult classic, which to me was the better film because there's more characterization and stuff. But it was, I love being in the movie, and I love the old original, like I said, being the older guy that I am. But it was a romp. It was a 2 hour romp, and Connor did great job. Connor was Connor to a large extent, but a lot of actors are that way. But I mean, he made a great showing and pretty much was the entertainment of the film all the way through. Jake Gyllenhaal is a fine actor that he is, a great guy too. And Joe Silva, he put together a very fine production, very well made, nonstop action, beginning to end. And I'm sure everybody watching it just gets their fill and has a very fun 2 hours. I did with my couple buddies. We watched it and just had a blast. So it's a
Yeah,
fun film to watch.
it was never going to be Oppenheimer, but it played the role that it needed to play for the film that it was.
Yeah, no,
Before
it's
before I let
not.
you go, any business ventures or anything that you have coming up that you want to let the public know about?
Well, my Puncher's Chance bourbon is the top number 5 best sipping bourbon in America by the critics, voted by the critics. Big hit, Puncher's Chance bourbon. Go to puncherchancebourbon.com and you'll be able to see where you can find it in your area. It's sold all across the country. And then my cologne, It's Time Cologne, is the top seller on Amazon, was number 1 at one point. It's going into all the stores with a line of toiletry products that I'm making. So this cologne, you want to smell like a champion? And trust me, trust Uncle Bruce. The girls love it too. They really, really love it. They love the scent to wear it themselves. That's the kind of reports we're getting back. So make yourself happy, make your girlfriend, your wife happy, smell like a champion.
I'm gonna do that. 'Cause obviously, I'm not just because we're friends, but Puncher's Chance, I love it. I'm getting a new bottle here soon to put up in the background of my new little makeshift studio here, and now I'm gonna get the cologne as well. I've got to support you in all that you do. I want to thank you so much for giving me your time. All the best to you at UFC 300. Thank you for being such an icon in this sport and such a great representative of the UFC and this mixed martial arts. I know you bring it every event, but to have you there for UFC 300, and obviously we all want you there for UFC 400, it just really means a lot to not only have you here, but to have you representing the sport.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate your kind words and our friendship and everything else. Just thank you so much. Makes me very happy. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, take care now. Bye bye.